Message I really want to convey to you is don't give up. Do not quit. Keep trying and keep trying. I felt like a failure. I felt like I had done something wrong, and it was very difficult for my ego to process this all at once. Hello, I'm Rebecca, the Texas Fruitarian, and I would like to tell you today about my disability from multiple sclerosis. On September 8th of 2014, I had ended up in the hospital. My left side from the neck down was numb and I could not control it. And I would be diagnosed a few days later with definitive multiple sclerosis. But I eventually did find out. I think it was day 3 when I got my diagnosis. And then I had more crying sessions. I Googled it, and just don't ever Google a disease, a serious disease. Don't do that. It's very hopeless sounding, very dreary of, you know, well, in 10 years you're probably going to be in a wheelchair, you're probably just going to continue on the disability path, and you may or may not get your connection back temporarily, but you're always going to be damaged, and you're just going to be continuously damaged. It blew my mind that all this was even happening in the first place, because I had been vegan for like 5.5 years prior to this, and I thought I was a pretty healthy vegan too. I mean, I ate a lot of fruits and vegetables, though I did indulge in a lot of processed vegan foods. In my mind at the time, it wasn't that much, but in my mind nowadays, it was more than I needed to be doing. My fat intake was too high, and my salt intake was too high. I did drastically change my diet, and what my diet is currently, I don't think it's completely crazy, considering the science is fully in support of a low-fat, low-salt diet, whole foods, plant-based, and I went fully raw, vegan, fruit-based, fruitarian, if you will. And I take the majority of my calories from fruits, and I do eat some vegetables, but during my first couple of years it was really off and on with the vegetables, not so much, and I keep my fat intake very low. I want to emphasize this for people who are also struggling with rehabilitation after disability. There were so many days when I could clench my hand on one day, and then 2 days later I wouldn't be able to make the fist. So I want to emphasize that healing is not linear. It kind of goes a little crazy around in circles. True healing is all over the map, and you're gonna have bad days, and that's okay, because I mean, the body already just being able to heal itself is a miracle, but don't expect results to be continuously good. I just think it's important to remember that we've got a long way to go, and it's okay to have a bad day. And it doesn't mean that all your progress before now is totally wasteful. It means that you're just having a bad day, and maybe you need to rest, and maybe the body is focusing on repairing some other things right now, and it is actually just telling you, hey, I don't have the strength to do this right now and repair all the other stuff I'm working on over here. And that's fine, and we have to respect that. So take a rest day if you need to. I really honestly think that the diet is a huge part of rehabilitation. I honestly believe that. I believe it's the #1 factor in forcing down the inflammation in the brain and preventing further attacks by keeping that fat intake low and the diet whole foods, plant-based at bare minimum. If you're an overachiever like me, or if the whole foods, plant-based isn't working fast enough for you, I highly recommend raw and fruit-based, and always keeping that fat very low and avoiding salt. But on top of all of that, I really believe wholeheartedly in making the conscious effort every single day that even if you cannot do everything that you want to do, to not use that as a reason not to try. You still need to try every single day. And when we give the body the proper tools to succeed, that we can perform our own miracles. But miracles do take time, and they do take persistence, consistency, they take patience, and grief. I will say it takes a lot of grief to work through those fears and what ifs, and all that's okay and to be expected. And I think it's healthy to let those feelings out. I encourage you to take the time that you need in order to get in the right mindset to heal yourself.
And so I had to make that decision very consciously, not only for myself, but for the possibility of everybody else out there who was in pain and suffering. And what if there's another option, even though we're being told there's no other options?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was going to say, like you, whenever I look at my before pictures, that's what I see. People say, well, you looked pretty back then. And I say, yeah, but when I see that, I think in my mind, I looked sick. I looked like I was suffering, but I see the memories of myself looking in the mirror and crying and being like, I'm suffering, I'm in pain. And then, they only see a picture and they're like, yeah, you looked older and unhealthier, but it wasn't that bad. And I'm like, yeah, but it felt like I was walking to my grave.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a miserable time. And what's even more miserable is when the doctors are giving people, patients, false information. It's incorrect for them to say to patients that meat is very healthy. Like, that actually goes against the science, and it's like they're so misinformed.
Yeah.
Most doctors don't get any nutrition science at all. Maybe 3 hours in school if they're lucky. But there's so much about nutrition and actual healthy information and like the nutrition science studies, the evidence-based guidelines that they are misrepresenting, and a lot of it is through like this filter of their own prejudice and their own preferences of like, I like meat, therefore it must be healthy in moderation. And so then they recommend, meat and dairy to patients that are sick, and they say, oh, there's nothing you can do but take the medicine, but go ahead and eat normal.
Yeah.
It's like such terrible advice that they give. And that's why it's just so important, I think, nowadays to find a plant-based physician that is actually in tune with the current nutrition science and the guidelines saying, don't eat meat, don't eat dairy. These things are inflammatory. They are disease promoting. And I just think it's just such an important detail.
And to only, let's say at the beginning, you're from Texas. You one of your main illnesses was multiple sclerosis, yeah? Hashimoto, yes. Adrenal fatigue, chronic adrenal fatigue. What else did you have?
I was chronically hypoglycemic from childhood. And I actually ended up getting told that I was pre-diabetic. And I was heading for type 2 diabetes medications if I couldn't reverse it. So I was like on the brink of becoming a full-fledged type 2 diabetic after an entire childhood and history of chronic hypoglycemic episodes, which was my blood sugar would spike and then crash.
Oh God.
And then I would almost like go into like I was at risk for going into like a diabetic coma. When the blood sugar crashes like that,
you can go into a coma. Yeah,
it was up and down, and I was always told that I needed to increase my protein and my healthy fats.
Of course,
like the two things that I don't look at out, like I don't seek those out now, and I've not had a hypoglycemic episode since eating this way, since eating properly, and so I've basically cured my lifelong hypoglycemic.
And everything else,
from having a low-fat, low-protein, high-carb diet. And my diet now is mainly raw fruits. I do have some greens, and like every now and then I'll have some vegetables. More so in the winter, I think, than the summer. But I'll do like nuts and seeds very rarely. I don't even like keep them in the house. But I keep my diet very low fat and low protein for the most part. And it's basically all of my issues are not issues anymore.
Good. I'm so glad for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So how long this journey lasted for you? Like, when did you start it? And
well, I went vegetarian when I was 19 years old, and that was in 2003. And then I did that because I didn't want to eat meat anymore, because I thought, well, I don't think it's nice to animals to eat meat. And I also think it might be unhealthy, but I didn't know. I didn't know at the time. I actually thought we needed meat to live. And I kind of made the decision, if I end up dying because I don't eat meat anymore, that I was okay with it. But
Okay.
I didn't die.
You see, yeah.
Yeah, and then so in 2005, I was 2009, I was 25 years old, and I read the book Skinny Bitch. And it's a very funny, like a comedy written book about diet, and it was written by two models, and they are very pro-vegan, pro-plant-based lifestyles and pro-fruit. And they have a chapter about why dairy is really cruel. And I had no idea that the dairy industry was really cruel. And I also didn't know that it was so unhealthy. And so this chapter in that book opened my eyes to the dairy industry, and I went vegan overnight as soon as I read it. And so from there, but I was still not understanding how to be a healthy vegan. I made a lot of mistakes with my vegan diet, I want to say my vegan lifestyle, which was a plant-based diet, but I was too high in fat, too high in salt, and I did too many vegan junk food, vegan processed foods. And so 5 years later, I end up with multiple sclerosis in 2014.
And being vegan, yeah?
And I was already vegan, and I'm sitting there. Well, and at first, because my symptom, my episode was my left side of my body, my arm and my leg were disconnected from my brain, essentially. Like I could not lift my arm, I could not use my leg, and I was limping along, and they I went to the emergency room. They thought I had a stroke, and I'm sitting there in the emergency room saying, I am a 30-year-old vegan. I did not have a stroke. I'm like mad that they would suggest that I had a stroke. And, but like I got all my testing done, and they confirmed with an MRI and a spinal tap that I had definitive multiple sclerosis, and I had many scars on my brain.
Oh God.
Scars in my brain. And so what I had to learn the hard way is that even if you're vegan, and even if, like, I thought I was a healthy vegan, but it wasn't enough to prevent and reverse my autoimmune diseases. I was formally diagnosed with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism in my very early 20s, shortly after going vegetarian. And, but I had been symptomatic for many years prior to that, but I finally got my formal diagnosis. And I was on medications for that for over 10 years. And what I didn't realize that changing my diet for healing purposes, I ended up actually getting off of the Hashimoto's medication as well, after being told that I would have to take that for the rest of my life. And I had already been taking it for over 10 years. And so that was just another side effect or a perk that I was not expecting. I was not expecting to be able to be legit medication free. But I ended up in the hospital sort of making the decision with my life to kind of go raw and fruit-based. But I didn't know how. Believe it or not, it sounds like, and it sounds way overcomplicated when you're coming into it for the first time, but really the whole lifestyle is just so simple. I mean, just eat fresh fruits and keep it low fat.
So why do you think, I know why you faced these problems with the veganism, but just to explain to the people, like not what's wrong. It's nothing wrong with being vegan. It's wrong with the choices of the veganism. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why do you think the veganism was not enough, good enough for you to keep you away from these two main autoimmune condition like Hashimoto and multiple sclerosis?
That's a great question. And like, what I understand is that other people out there who do change their lifestyles to vegan and whole food plant-based, if they change their lifestyles quickly enough, that alone can help heal and reverse them. But for me, I had already been battling autoimmune diseases for over 10 years, probably longer than that before my official diagnosis. And my theory, just my anecdotal theory, is that my progression of autoimmune diseases was much further along. And so simply going vegan and even whole food plant-based, even doing it what I thought was mostly right, was not enough for me personally to heal myself. And so I felt that I needed to take it a step further and go raw and fruit-based and low-fat and avoid salt and really focus on the fruits and kind of put the nuts and the seeds and the avocado on the back burner for just a rare occasion thing, because I think that that's what my body needed in order to get out of its own way, in order to heal itself.
So you needed more of the fruit excavation and putting less vegetables, that you needed a more aggressive detoxification, yeah?
Yes, it was a more aggressive approach. When I went vegan, or I'm sorry, when I went raw, officially my official start date, I haven't gone off of that and eaten a cooked food meal since my start date. But during the month prior to my actual start date, I did do sort of test runs and dabbled with it just to see how it felt and how raw was reacting with my body. And each time I would feel great, I would feel great, I would feel great. And as soon as I ate some cooked food, everything would feel worse.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even just, it wasn't even bad cooked food. It was just like, you know, cooked vegetables.
Cooked vegetables. The same happened with me.
Potatoes,
exactly the same happened with me.
Yeah, and I don't want to demonize those for otherwise healthy people. Like, you know, the otherwise healthy vegans who are just, they don't have these chronic health issues and these incurable health issues. Maybe that won't affect them so negatively, but for me, it wasn't what my body needed in order to heal.
Exactly.
And a lot of the digestion issues in the gut, like our gut bacteria will flourish, like the specific types of gut bacteria will flourish when we consistently feed our bodies with like raw fruits and vegetables, for example, and we will promote the growth of those bacteria that really prefer those foods. And as soon as you introduce a new type of food, even if it is an otherwise healthy food, the bacteria might not like that food as much because it's just not used to it anymore. And it's kind of like after we don't eat meat and dairy, for example, for a very long time, you will lose those digestive enzymes. And and so it will physically make you sick if you ever get like contamination in your food from like the foods that you're not used to anymore.
Exactly.
Like for me, raw foods is more of and like after I've been doing raw now for over 4 years consistently, and like a lot of people will ask, like, so are you going to try and reincorporate some cooked foods now that you've healed, you're no longer taking medications, you don't have these symptoms? And I say, well, I honestly, I don't feel compelled to really mess with that right now because I'm in like a comfort zone.
Exactly.
And I'm just too afraid of messing with that.
And once you go through hell, you don't want to get nearby.
Yeah, well, I'm like,
especially,
this way, and that becomes my new addiction of like, I love feeling
great.
My approach is very simple. I don't do anything like that. I eat fruits, some greens, a few veggies, and every now and then some nuts or seeds that are classified as raw, but sometimes really aren't technically truly raw. But I didn't start fasting or doing islands or any of that until after about 6 months solid on simple raw fruits and vegetables, mainly fruits. And I don't recommend personally juicing, because like fiber is such an important nutrient, and especially for pulling things out of the colon. So I really love fiber, and I would prefer to have an island fast, like grape island or only eating grapes for a little bit, rather than juicing. I feel like a lot of those things make it way too complicated for so many people who need it simple. And they're coming in, they don't have a lot of money to burn on all these kits and these equipment and these tests and these supplements and these herbs. They don't have the money. We don't need a whole lot of things in order to heal. We just need to get out of our own way and stop putting in the foods that hinder our own self-healing processes. That's really what it comes down to. I feel like I'm good at being very self-aware, and I'm good at being honest with myself about my own issues, my own flaws, anything that I need to change, and I need to honestly take an honest look at myself and an objective look at myself and see what needs to change. and get my ego out of the way and stop feeling upset about it and start feeling, okay, emotions aside, what do I need to do step by step in order to change what I don't like? I always say, get your mind right, get your mind.
Yeah, your mind set and cleared up, and
make the decisions ahead of time, and make those hard decisions. Like sometimes it's, do you really want to heal? Some people are addicted to being sick. They like attention, and it's not even that they like the pain, but they like feeling that importance, and they become identified by their disease. Some people, and some of it, it's very hard to separate wanting to heal from wanting to continue keeping that attention and people feeling sorry for you. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody does this, but this can become a mental addiction, and it's hard to get away from that. Becoming emotionally stronger, and strong enough to say, I want to heal no matter no matter if I lose this thing that I am self-identifying myself as. Like, who am I without my diseases? What am I doing if I'm not in pain constantly? I don't know. And you kind of have like a bit of an identity crisis, and you're like, well, my family that cares so much, maybe they won't care about me nearly as much if I don't have that reason for them to come in and care, and like more so than they have before. Like there's all these like emotional attachment issues that we have to disease that have, there's so many levels. I used to joke back when I was eating my version of my healthy vegan diet, which I ended up finding out wasn't as healthy as I thought it was. I used to joke that I could eat a carrot and gain 5 pounds. That's how I felt. It's actually like detox on all levels, because it's not just a physical detox, it's not just mental, it's not just emotional. There's a social detox that happens when you start to change your diet and change your lifestyle and take care of yourself. Part of it is the people around you. They're going to start treating you like I want to say like they always will, but a lot of the times people will treat you differently when they see you suddenly making healthier choices, because they are projecting their own flaws in their own diet onto you, and they're saying like, why are you making me uncomfortable about my own choices? That's really unfortunate that they would treat you that way, and that they get so caught up in their own personal fears about your choices and what your choices, the impact that they would make if they were doing your choices too. And really it has everything to do with their own internal fears of what they don't understand, and what they are too afraid to do, to take their responsibility for their own health. And that makes them uncomfortable, so that they blame you, because they would rather, and I often find this to be true, that they would like to be doing what you were doing. They would like to feel like they were strong enough to be doing what you're doing, and they just can't handle not being able to do that, and they have to push you down to make themselves feel better.
And that comes out, like understanding the quality of the people now, that those that put you down is those that suck inside, are rotten. So it's a good way. It's a good thing that while detoxing would put you detox of the society as well. It's a very good thing.
Yeah, and honestly, if they treat you that way, they are not worth being in your social circle. They have to work on their own issues, and when you take responsibility for your health and your diet and your lifestyle, you elevate to a new level. You lift up in your quality, your vibration, everything lifts up. And people who are not on your level won't be able to handle it.
Exactly.
And that's a good thing for you ultimately. It can be very heartbreaking, and it can be very hurtful. But in the end, in the long run, you make space for people who are on your level and who are working towards the similar goals of health, healing, and vibrance and compassion. And I think that's really important too, is not just to release what is holding you back, but to open yourself up to all the new opportunities.
Something new opportunity,
They will inevitably come in, and you will attract and draw in people that are like you and on similar journeys. So I decided I will heal as much as I possibly can, keeping it very, very simple and very affordable and realistic and attainable. for my circumstances, and you know what, it worked just fine. And coming from a place where I was told by doctors on more than one occasion that I would have to be on these medications for the rest of my life, and now living and thriving and being healthier than I've ever been in my entire life, I'm just shocked. Like, clearly they're missing something important.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to suffer. I mean, there are things that are within our control, even in the face of incurable diseases. And even if it's not a 100% perfect cure, and even if the word cure bothers some people when discussing incurable diseases, it's an increase. All of this, you know, responsibility for our lifestyles is an increase to our quality of life. And if nothing else, we are simply giving ourselves a better life, a happier life, more energy, more vibrancy. And I don't think there's anything wrong with trying and doing everything in our power. Because I mean, the worst case scenario, all we're doing is eating more fruits and vegetables. That's the worst case. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no high risk involved with that. So why not just give it a try? It could, I mean, worst case, you know, nothing happens, but best case, what if you could live and thrive symptom-free and medication-free? I mean, what if? You won't know until you try. And I will also say that healing, real healing, is very gradual. It takes a long time. I didn't get off of my thyroid medication for about a year and a half. And I didn't have any clue that I was going to have to get off of the thyroid medication. I lost 80 pounds.
80 pounds.
I lost 80 pounds. I think the article might have misstated some things that from that information. But yeah, I lost 80 pounds, and I actually have some videos on my YouTube channel on Texas Fruitarian.
Oh, you have it? Yeah. Okay.
About the weight loss, and I like to reiterate that I never did this to lose weight. I only did this to heal myself from these diseases. The weight loss was a benefit, a side perk. It was not ever the intention, but it was nice to see that reinforcement that this is healthier for me. And
so 80 pounds will be like 20 something kilos, almost 30 kilos in our measurements in Europe. Yeah.
But yeah, I like to reiterate that the priority should be overall health and disease prevention and reversal. Aesthetically, we need to really work on loving ourselves as we are, and in every step of the journey, regardless of what's going on the outside. The body will catch up eventually, but
exactly.
It takes time, and you cannot get your success, failure, results. You cannot judge it by looking in the mirror. You cannot. It all comes from the inside, and then you see the exterior last. The interior healing happens first. The exterior happens last. And so don't get hung up on if the scale doesn't move. Most of the time when I was losing weight, from my perspective, that scale was not moving. And if I had been doing this only for weight loss, I would have gotten very frustrated and sad and felt very defeated. But it happened. It just happened over time.
Which means that the body got rid of the toxin and everything, all the waste that had.
Yeah.
In the timing that the body needed, not what we're expecting from the body.
Exactly. The body has a priority system, and sometimes healing and reversing these destructive, debilitating, incurable diseases is way more important than looking hot in a bikini.
Yeah, exactly.
Priorities.
Yeah, being health is a priority. Bikini is the last thing that I.
The body doesn't care about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are benefits. There are beautiful benefits to having a high hydration diet with the juicy fruits. Your skin will become more shiny, more fresh, more healthy looking. Your complexion will smooth out. Your skin, the loose skin everywhere, will tighten up. But it takes time. It's such a gradual process. And enjoy the journey. but don't get hung up on those physical results.
Exactly.
That'll come in time whenever your body's ready. Just keep doing every single day what your job is, which is those healthy choices.
Are you exercising? Were you exercising, doing some physical exercise, some movement?
So, not like early on when I first started doing this, my exercise was relearning how to use my arm and leg again. Like it was more like almost like physical therapy, but instead of going to physical therapy, I actually tore up my prescription for physical therapy and I went to the gym instead, and I got a personal trainer. And that was I think essential in regaining my movement, because we didn't stop at, you know, just doing these little 1 to 3 pound hand weights. And, you know, I mean, we did challenging exercises to rebuild that connection from the brain to the body. Yeah, you started to, at least I did, started to realize how much I took it for granted, how mobile I was, and how the basic functions were so just automatic. And now I had this over appreciation for being able to lift my arms at the same time.
Simple. Healing is simple.
Healing is simple. Eating a fruit-based raw diet can be very simple. You don't need any fancy anything. You don't need a lot of money. You don't even need a lot of time. But the most important thing is consistency. Yeah, just make that decision to do everything in your power every single day, regardless of the outcome. Just keep doing it. And eventually you'll see.
And don't be afraid of falling back, because there are times that you fall back, either emotionally, either physically, even with the food, especially if you're addicted, Victory, What do you want to say, like a last message to all the ill people, all the sick people?
Yeah, and I will say that there were days when I was doing every single thing in my power well, and I would feel like I was backsliding with my health, and that the most important thing was just to continue and like with my consistency and make that decision every single day to do everything in my power, no matter the outcome. Even if I wasn't seeing the results immediately, I had to keep trying, because if I were to continue with my diseases and the progress of my diseases becoming more and more debilitated, I still needed to be able to say I did everything in my power and control. And so now I can resign myself to my diseases and be content with the outcome, because I know that I did everything in my power and control. It turns out it did heal. It did offer me this incredible amount of healing, and I was able to reverse so many issues in my life. And now I feel like I'm having a second chance at life. But the most important thing is, even when you think, oh, it's useless, nothing I ever do is going to be enough, just keep doing it. Just keep doing everything in your power every single day and make those healthy choices. And eventually you will be able to look backwards. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in a month, maybe not in 2 months, maybe not in 3 months, but eventually you will look back on your progress and on your journey, and you will see just how far you have come and just how different your life is now, because you made that choice to continue being consistent no matter what. To take pictures in the beginning and write down like a diary or a blog.
I also use the diary,
so that you can look back on yourself, because you might not see those changes every single day. And honestly, I couldn't see the physical changes even when I was losing weight. I couldn't see it until I compared my pictures. And then I said, oh my God, I am losing weight. I am. But when I looked in the mirror, I saw
my... You don't realize, because you see your image every day, you don't realize.
Yeah, you won't realize just how much you are healing, even though it doesn't seem like that. Just continue being consistent and make a nice log of your journey with pictures and diary or blog posts or whatever. Make sure that you can look back every couple of months or so and look at how far you've come. Maybe you'll see, oh, I used to have headaches all the time, and now I haven't had a headache in 2 months. But I didn't realize that until it became conscious, until I looked and saw my progress and like, oh, you know what? I haven't had a headache since then. And honestly, that's one of the things where I used to have headaches all the time. I think it takes a long time for you to realize when when you are no longer experiencing that every single day, it's kind of your brain, it takes a while to kind of register the progress. And so you kind of have to be, you kind of have that aha moment and like, I haven't had a headache in months. The focus is every single day, keeping that consistency and giving it time and continuing to have patience with it. And I ended up making my own support group, and I have a support group on Facebook. It's called Raw Vegan Fruit-Based Challenge and Support Group, and we have over 8,000 members now. And
your channel, can you say it? Say the name again. You said the Texas Fruitarian.
My name on social media, on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram is Texas Fruitarian. Okay. Yeah. And then I have a totally free Facebook support group. It's called Raw Vegan Fruit-Based Challenge and Support Group.
Great.
Yeah. And we do raw challenges all the time, and we have a lot of information in there, and we like to keep it very positive. We have a very we don't like to mope and despair about all the things we can't do. We like to focus on all the things we can do. I'm coaching people on my website, texasfruitarian.com. I offer video coaching and Skyping sessions for anybody who's looking to transition to either vegan or raw or fruit-based, whatever your goals are, whatever your reasons. Every single person is unique. I don't like to give things like meal plans generically, and I don't have the same recommendations for every single person, because every single person has different needs. So so wherever you're coming from and whatever your particular goals are, I like to work with people wherever they want to be.
Thank you. You are such an inspiration for everybody, for all of us. And I'm glad you have managed to come that far, and I wish you all the success with everything that you're doing now. Thank you.